Hey nerds, Farmer Jesse here. Welcome to Growers Daily, your daily dose of ecological farming insight. It is Thursday, April 17th, 2025, and today we're going to talk deer fencing on a budget, our simple hands-free root washing station with updates, and Bermuda grass on a school farm. So let's do it. All right. Well, happy Thursday, everyone. I hope your weeks are all going well. Let's see. Well, yesterday I finally did try my hand at grafting cucumbers, and I feel 75% optimistic that it will work. They are currently healing away in our healing chamber / the closet that houses our hot water heater. And after several hours of looking like a complete failure, the plants are standing vaguely up this morning. So that's a good sign. They look a little hungover, but they did lose their heads last night. So that's a little bit to be expected. I did not get to do it exactly like all the other internet information will tell you it's supposed to be done, which is to use this specific clip and leave a leaf cutting the cucumber right at the growth point after those first true leaves appear. I didn't quite do that because I didn't have that special clip. So instead I used the clips I had and cut it a little bit lower than the growth point and kind of just had to finagle a way to hold those clips up. So it could be a total failure, but could be a success. And it would be, if it worked, it would be easy enough to continue doing it this way. I will probably keep trying until I figure out a system because I am dumb and a little bit stubborn. We'll keep you updated on that little experiment. Okay, so we are still trying to catch up on Patreon questions this week so that no one is going into the growing season without their questions answered. So we'll do 3 more today. Our first Patreon question comes from Patreon member Spiky, that's a fun name, who writes, quote, hello from the queer woods of rural Tennessee. This question is about deer fencing, how to do it at scale for minimum cost. About 15 years ago, I built multiple 8-foot deer fences, harvesting the posts myself. The black locust posts are still solid, but the eastern red cedar posts, even the ones with charred bottoms, are getting wiggly. The trouble is I don't have access to much black locust anymore as the forest around us matures, but eastern red cedar is abundant and almost weedy. I've looked into 10-foot T-posts, but the cost / shipping is prohibitive. Scrounging trees like locust and cedar has been a great strategy, but I'm hesitant to use cedar again. Money is always tight, so I'd prefer to prioritize my free labor. Can you offer some ideas for building realistic, effective deer fencing on a tight budget? Thanks, and thanks for everything you're doing, end quote. Okay, so great question and lots of good details in there. Thank you. So I've worked a lot with eastern red cedar, and no doubt it can be fairly rot resistant, but the challenge is finding the cedar that grows slow enough to have the right amount or a good quantity of that red sort of rot resistant heartwood to hold up for a long time. Cedars are rot resistant really only in the middle. The outside rots pretty easily. So it can be kind of tough to find those really nice eastern red cedars. And obviously they need to be cured, and it sounds like you charred the bottom, which is all good stuff to help increase the longevity. But unfortunately, the reality with using pretty much any untreated wood, which to be clear is the only wood you should be using, is that it will almost all rot eventually. I mean, black locust lasts a really long time, but obviously wood is natural, it will decompose. So I should say that if you were wanting to stick with wood, the posts are, like you said, too cost prohibitive. Maybe replacing the occasional post is the affordable option since you already installed the fence. Now, there may be logistical challenges that I can see from my vantage, but oftentimes fixing something is significantly cheaper than just replacing the entire thing. Not always, of course, but often, especially when you don't have the capital, even if it's a bit annoying to have to do it every 5 or 10 years or whatever. Maybe doing that annoying work even inspires you to start budgeting for the eventual more permanent replacement like posts, which I get, they're wildly expensive. But on the T-post front, I've found fairly cheap, shorter T-posts on Craigslist from farmers removing old fencing. They may have you take those posts out yourself, but you can get one of those amazing T-post pullers that cost like $50 or $100 and pull 100 posts in a couple hours. It's like my favorite. It's the most effective tool. It's great. But since those won't be the tall T-posts, perhaps you could buy posts to install onto the shorter posts, like fiberglass posts, rebar, or maybe weld on the other metal post to get you to that 8 feet high number and save you a little money. It won't be as strong, obviously, but would get you to the height that you need. Also, potentially, you could save on shipping by driving up to somewhere like Deerfield in Kentucky, assuming you were over there on the central/western side of Tennessee, and getting those long T-posts you talked about. Anyway, I get it. Wood is abundant here, but the abundance is not always helpful, especially with something like red cedar that is mostly just hot and gooey to burn in wood stove, but not always rot resistant to use in the ground. Plus, it doesn't always split super well or super easily, at least not like other cedars that are good for, cedar shakes or something like that. Although, if you can get it through a lumber mill, it does really, really well for siding. Very pretty looking stuff. Also, if you're looking for more deer fencing ideas, like a staggered fence, check out the other video I did on deer fencing, which I will link in the show notes. That could be a better use of smaller posts if you are able to find them. Also, I was talking to Mike yesterday about potential of using a dog. If you have a border at all, like a permanent border, and you are willing to get a dog, we had a Great Pyrenees named Wendell who managed our deer fencing like he was the deer fence for many, many years. We didn't need any sort of deer fencing. We needed a vague border, and he pretty much stuck to that and protected the garden. And like I've said before, the cost was him just falling to sleep on some lettuce beds sometimes. So small price to pay, but shouts to Wendell. We miss him, but he was also very loud. And our new neighbors probably appreciate that we did not get a new Great Pyrenees after he passed away. Otherwise, we're going to take a quick break, and when we return, we'll talk about our hands-free root washing station and all that implies, which is not the right way to use that phrase, but sometimes it just feels like the right time. It's a vibes thing. Anyway, BRB. Today's episode is brought to you by FarmRaise. Still using QuickBooks for your farm's bookkeeping? You're wasting time and losing money. Farm finances can be overwhelming, but they don't have to be. FarmRaise Tracks is the all-in-one tool built just for farmers. Manage expenses, prep for taxes, run payroll, and plan for the future without spreadsheets or stress. Just clear, organized insights to keep your operation thriving. Thousands of farmers trust Tracks to make smart financial decisions all year long. It's time you did too. Use code NOTIL20, that's all caps, no spaces, NOTIL20 for 20% off the life of your membership at farmraise.com. All right, back to the show. If you, the listener, are enjoying this content, getting even a small amount of value from it, consider supporting our work over at patreon.com/no-till-growers. Does this work bring you $2 a month worth of value? Does it bring you $5? Consider signing up and kicking in a few dollars to keep it happening. I will try to get to questions from everywhere that questions come in, but I will always get to your Patreon questions. Now, today's second Patreon question comes from Patreon member Songhaven Farm, who writes, quote, "Hey Jesse, great show. Thank you for bringing us all together in this manner. Can you please discuss how you built your cool carrot washing station shown on February 24th episode? Thank you." End quote. Okay, so first, thank you for the question. I'm happy to talk about that. So obviously, also, this is still that old batch of questions that I missed from February and early March. But anyway, we're catching up on those. So just to talk about what, especially for you podcast listeners, you might have no idea what this person's talking about. We built a simple root washing station several years ago where we use a foot pedal to turn the sprayer nozzle on and off, and the sprayer nozzle itself is fixed to the wall. So basically you step on the pedal, water comes out of the sprayer nozzle, and you can just hold the carrots or whatever it is that you're washing underneath. This was designed by my buddy and engineer friend, David Ladner, who helped us harvest one day and pointed out a few inefficiencies on the farm. And one of the biggest was washing carrots. We would lay all those carrots out, take a hose and sprayer in one hand and a bunch of carrots in the other, then wash the carrot bunches one at a time. Or we would lay them all out on a table, spray them one at a time, band them one at a time, and it would just take forever. For 200 carrot bunches for market, it was just far too slow. Basically, he said one of our hands was just being wasted, and that was, slowing down the whole process. We could be cleaning one or two bunches at the same time really quickly versus picking up the sprayer, spraying off one, cleaning it, picking out any yellow pieces, and then moving on to the next one. That's very slow. So he came up with a design to use a foot pedal that we found on Amazon with a few different parts you can order. Now, you can watch the whole video breakdown on YouTube, and I'll link that video in the show notes. All the pieces and parts, all the details for that are in the show notes of that video as well. So if you want to try and build one yourself, you can. Neversink Farm Tools made a version of it that you can find at their site too. As an aside, people have asked me how I feel about them just going ahead and building basically the same thing and selling it. And honestly, we made a pretty conscious choice to not sell it as a kit and just give people the open source directions. and guides to, the parts and how to build their own. So I don't really necessarily care. We're also not the first people to come up with a washing station that uses a pedal power. Pedals are a pretty common sort of manufacturing / lean manufacturing concept, and other farmers have built them before us. So not really our idea to control. So you can build it for like $100, or you can buy the $450 prefab version from them. It's totally your call. We just didn't want to be a tool company. Let the tool companies deal with the inventory and customer service and all the details that go there. Our job is giving away information and talking about soccer. So it didn't really fit. Anyway, a couple things I'd like to change is that, one, our design is super efficient, but gets you incredibly saturated in the process. So we always wear Grundens. Those are like waterproof bibs while we work. So it needs some sort of protective screen or something built between you and the produce, or you just need to full on wear like a Fisher person's outfit. I would like to be able to use the same station for washing bins. So either a sprayer that you can spray from like the bottom, like a commercial dishwasher, think like that, or a split that allows you to use a handheld hose, or sometimes whatever makes sense. Like it can be used to wash bins, but it's not the most convenient for getting all the way around the bin, just the one that we have right now. So what I usually end up doing is just hauling the hose out there and spraying off the bins. Not super efficient. That needs work. And 3, a better design for water collection and usage, because that's just a lot of water and dirt that goes to waste. Ours is a small tank that outlets down a hill, but the downhill side is just inconvenient to do much with. I'd prefer it drained into a giant wood pile or something where the water could be used, if for nothing else, composting, like just keeping that wood pile wet so it just continually breaks down. Also, I think we put an extender on the original design to get it off of the wall a little farther. So when you watch that video, just think it's changed a little bit. And I would not recommend the PEX pipe that we used. Ours has held up actually pretty well, but it's not in the sun. You probably want to go with something like a UV treated black plastic piping. Anyway, yeah, you should, if possible, never have a hand tied up holding a hose. It's just the moral of the story, I guess. And I gotta be honest, it has saved us just countless hours washing carrots. I mean, you're basically washing 2 bunches at the exact same time, and we can move through our carrot in like a quarter of the time or less. So it was definitely worth it. It's a little wet though. Anyway, we're going to take a quick break, and when we return, Bermuda grass in a school garden. Be right back. Take up too much time. If I could spend less time at my desk and more in the field, that'd be a win. Enter Farmhand. Farmhand automates billing, newsletters, websites, and member support, saving CSA farmers 20 plus hours a week. Focus on farming, not paperwork. See how Farmhand can help. Book a one-on-one demo with founder Ari at farmhand.partners/no-till. That's farmhand.partners/no-till. All right, back to the show. All right, so for our third and final Patreon question of this Thursday, Patreon member Bruce Wiley writes us, quote, "Hello, Jesse. We're putting together a farm-to-school project here in Bishop, California, and the potential farm site is on an unused grass field. There is a bit of Bermuda grass, which scares the bejabbers out of me. During COVID times 2020, I methodically took out my Bermuda grass infected front lawn in the hopes of trading tomatoes for toilet paper, and it took until the discovery of a vaccine to get it done, so a long time. We don't have time to tarp the areas because 900 plus kids are hungry for both fresh veg and proper garden education. I'd like to get the first crops in this spring. I suppose we could loosen it up with a broad fork and then have 50 volunteers shake out the good soil from the grass, but it's a 1/8 acre plot, and that would also take a long time. We do have access to a tractor with a toothy bar attachment. Wondering if you have any suggestions to get this farm up and running. Many thanks. Love your show." End quote. So first, I'm sorry for the woefully slow response on this great question, Bruce, but hopefully there is still some time, or at worst, I'll let you know what I would have done, and hopefully some of the other recent shows that we did on Bermuda grass were helpful. Okay, so as you know, there is no easy way to get rid of Bermuda grass without a really long tarping or chemical intervention. Alternatively, you could potentially, I guess, sheet mulch or, like with a layer of paper mulch on the bottom to suppress the Bermuda grass, followed by a compost over top. Any Bermuda grass that makes it through that could then be removed by volunteers, and then potentially you tarp over, over top of that for the summer. But assuming none of that is possible, but you can get a few volunteers to help, what you described is probably going to be the best route to success with getting as much of that Bermuda grass out or at least that Bermuda grass in check as you can. Maybe just start with half of that space this spring and move into the other half by the fall so that the task does not seem quite as daunting. I'm not a huge fan of landscape fabric, but for getting those sorts of weeds in check, that may be an option for the first season or two. And then you only have to weed where it pokes through the holes of whatever you're planting. Your challenge is largely time, but also the reality of dealing with a highly seasonal workforce, plus probably also low or no budget for this project, as is the case with most school things. However, getting a garden started the first year is often a big chore, no matter how you're doing it or what weeds are present. The first year will be a lot of getting things in check when you have the help, and then in the future years, kids will have no idea the struggle, but the garden will be good to go. Annoyingly, with Bermuda grass and some of these more noxious weeds, there just really is no easy solution. Enough volunteers, though, well, that can make a decent job of it, and the toothy bar attachment is, if nothing else, at least worth a try. It's hard to say how well it'll work, but depends on the specific attachment, but it may be able to lift some of that Bermuda grass out, and then that could be good. I know this may not be appropriate for a school project, but I remember my friend Jenny Love of Love and Fresh Flowers would, and maybe still does, do a weed dating night, like speed dating, but the word weed instead, where she had singles come out to the farm to drink wine and help her weed her sort of permanent beds, which I think is a very cool idea. Maybe there is a small school garden version of that idea that could be used to get the community involved and having a little fun. Maybe a Bermuda grass pulling competition for the kids, giving them all buckets and seeing who can get the most weight. I don't know. In soccer, when I want the kids to learn something or do something different, I try to make a game out of it so they almost don't realize what they're doing. They're just having fun. Maybe that same approach could work here. Anyway, no idea if any of that was helpful. Per usual, Patreon members, I promise to be a bit more on top of things going forward. This block of questions just slipped through the cracks, but I'm pretty much caught up now, I think. All right, so we're going to close up shop for the day, but first I want to get a quick word from our friends at Rimmel Greenhouses. Whether you're growing tomatoes for market, flowers in the spring, or vegetables for your family, growing in a high tunnel protected from the weather provides the right environment for a harvest you can count on. Rimmel Greenhouses are strong, durable, and easy to assemble, offering the quality you need to grow productively year-round. The team of experts at Rimmel Greenhouse Systems will be your trusted partners to ensure you get exceptional value from your greenhouse or high tunnel investment. Visit Rimmel.com today to get growing. Big shout outs to Rimmel, longtime supporters of ours and sponsors of our work. So always show them some love, or at least give them some high fives when you see them at conferences. Don't forget, we are now officially a 501c3, so donations are tax deductible and greatly appreciated. Please make sure to like and subscribe and or follow wherever you are getting this podcast. That's an easy way to help us out. Enormous thank you to all of our show sponsors. And if you'd ever like to sponsor the show, you can reach out to Farmer Michelle at no-tillgrowers.com. Huge shouts to Willie Breeding for the theme music, Mike Hilbert for the production help and editing, and the team at No Till Growers. Also, shouts to Epidemic Sound for the background music that you can hear. Pick up a copy of the Living Soil Handbook or the Seed Farmer at no-tillgrowers.com to support our work. Big thank you to everyone over at patreon.com/no-tillgrowers, where at a certain level, or if you just bump up from one level to another, or you sign up in the month of April, you get a shout out in the show. So big shout outs today to Patrick Weaver, Alex and Oliver, Stacy Moorman, Bill King, and Chris Yates. Okay, so these are our weeklies, which means we didn't have any newbies today. And that means if we don't get a newbie today before I record tomorrow, then there will be no conclusion to our potato energy story. So the pressure's on, y'all. Anyway, today the gang is trying to get a hold of more of the energy potatoes because, as we learned yesterday, they are pretty interesting to eat. So why not? And so they have to break into the storage facility where like the harvest went, and not only where the potatoes are being kept, but also where this generator that the potatoes are supposedly fed into exists. And naturally, the door is locked. But the weeklies are all big MacGyver fans, so they come up with a clever way to break in without the alarm going off. I don't need to get into all the details, but what they find behind a large glass case running on a treadmill next to the storage unit shakes them to their core. Maybe feed was the right word after all. Anyway, that's tomorrow. Can't come up with a better name. So that's tomorrow on insert a better name here that includes the word potato or spud. Yep. Anyway, tomorrow is Friday for Feedback Friday. Get your feedback in. We'll see you then. Bye.